Hi, and welcome to another episode of Narkariss. My name is Michael Yohan, and this episode is Planet Narkariss, Part 7. Yes, we've done several other parts to this planet. This is the planet that Narkariss definitely knows the most about. So here we are with my first question. Narkariss, what makes Narkariss unique among inhabited worlds?
I believe one of the things, it's going to sound really simple. I believe because they are who they are and they work with living energy, and they have for well over 26 million years. And through that entire 26 million years, their advancement in technology has outdone thousands of other life species in their own evolution. And the other thing is that they are full-on vegans for millions and millions and millions of years. And they know how to communicate with the spirit of the earth, the spirit of Narkariss. They know how to, communicate with the elemental world on Narkariss, as well as the plant life and all other things. It's like they're a part of it. They respect it. They don't go and, rape the planet of all its resources like they do here on planet Earth. And that's one of the very unique things. And the other thing too is they're known throughout all those universe, and I've said this many times, as the universal guardians. And they come to people's or alien beings, their rescue, if they need, as well as all the teachings. They have certain types of vessels that can travel much faster than the speed of light. And those vessels have different Narkarons in it as teachers, and they go to planets and spend weeks or months there to actually change their entire system to make it so it's adaptable in a 100% positivity. So they're known in a very big way as the helpers of the universe, which makes it very unique.
Absolutely. And how is daily life structured on Narkariss?
Well, as you know, they don't live to a time factor, not like here on Earth. They've never had a time factor. It's like they're connected from the essence of their spirit, their physical being. They're connected to the planet, and they know. They know that it's morning. They know when it's lunchtime. They know when it's evening. They know when it's not evening because there's no such thing as nighttime. So it's a 24-hour sunlight. Yes, there are different stages when there's rain and that type of situation, but they live to the structure without a time factor, and they just know it. And that's the beauty of their understanding.
Right. And what values define their culture or social order?
Well, the beauty about the Narkarons, there is no, as I said, there is no violence or anger in any way. They have social structures set up all over the planet. If a Narkaron or a Narkaron family has an issue of any description, they go to those centers all over the planet and they communicate and they have their situations dealt with. Their whole, culture is set up on one factor, and it's called unconditional love. That is something they discovered many, many, many millions of years ago. And they believe the energy is the source of power when it comes to harmony, peace, and balance. And that's why their culture is defined in a most unconditional way, which is brilliant.
I see. Wow. And how do the beings there relate to nature and the environment?
Well, the beauty about their planet, they have a center, and I'm just looking at the word here, Neilongia. That is the center on Narkariss. And in that center, that is where the three major towers that's about 3 kilometers tall. They're all penthouses. And it's got a massive, massive shopping center. It's so huge, you would just lose yourself in it. And in that center, they have what you call gatherings all the time. And those gatherings, how would you say? I'm just trying to work out the right terminology. Those gatherings have great discussions about the planet. And in every other section of that planet, there are centers that are linked to that major center. And when they have discussions that are related to nature, it gets related all over the entire planet, all at the same time. The beauty is there's no nighttime. There's only daytime. So everybody is basically awake. So everyone listens and they know what is going on. And that's why everything is related. Everything is understood when it comes to nature and also the environment. And the environment, by the way, the environment is actually alive because it's living energy. And they communicate with that form of environment through their consciousness. We here don't understand that. And we probably won't for a very long time because we haven't developed our consciousness enough to connect to that form of energy so we can understand what is happening within the environment. That's why the Narkarons are very fortunate and very lucky.
Right. And what forms of governance or leadership exist on Narkarris?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know how we have governments here? We have a major government in Canberra, right? Now, on Narkarris, there is a major centre, which I just explained. And it's similar to, say, Canberra. But the difference being, it's not a government. It's actually a council. Now, governments are voted in by the people, normally. But the latest government is not. It's an illegal government. So governments create, how would you say, laws that are negative towards the people for domination, for control. Also, if they want to make things more where they can control you, they make it harder. So that's a government. And that is all over planet Earth. Where on Narkarris, there's a very big difference. There's no one like a dictatorship giving any sort of governance to the people of that planet. What they do have, again, is councils. There is a major council in the major centre, and they're also connected to every other centre upon that planet. And information goes there all the time, over the entire planet. And they do exactly what the major part says. Now, they don't dictate. They just said this is the way it should be. So they do it because they know it's going to be 100% positive. So that's basically how they're governed, through councils. And people, by the way, if they're not happy, they can enter those centres and talk to what they call the complaint centre. It's very rare that anybody ever puts in a complaint. Here on Earth, they probably get 1,000 a day at every council. But councils don't even recognise when people of Earth complain. They ignore it. And their egos stand out and say, no, we're not doing it. And that's wrong, because the people are the ones that should be served, not the other way around. We don't serve the government or the councils. They should be serving us and doing what we need as a nation. And that includes the entire world. Whereas on Narkarris, it's totally different. People have free will, people have free speech, and it's governed by the average person because there's no monetary system that makes them more superior than the average person like it is on Earth. And that's wrong. We are equal. On Narkariss, every single Narkaron is equal to the other.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, fantastic. And how does technology and spirituality interact on Narkariss?
Actually, very well, perfectly balanced. They do have technology in a very big way. They do have spirituality in a very big way. And both those things unite with each other. They create their technology through the essence of their spirituality that comes through their thought consciousness. Because they're very spiritual and they have that awareness, it's not an issue. They can literally sit down in the center of that council section, and they can literally sit there, go into a meditation, project their spirit out, and create through thought consciousness a physical essence of themselves. And they can sit there for 2 hours while the spirit goes and does what it needs to do. It's quite an amazing thing. But the technology and the spirituality is basically one. And that's how they create. Here on Earth, everything that's created in technology, and this is the sad part, Michael, like frequencies, it's all negative. Every single piece of frequency, whether it's a high frequency, a mid frequency, a lower frequency, it's all created negatively, and it puts our body essence out of balance. And no one seems to take too much notice of that. And that's why our body structure breaks down. That's why we feel we have no balance. And suddenly we'll hit the fence or we'll be walking crooked. And that's the frequencies from our phones, from the atmosphere, playing with our brain, causing more hassles with our logical side, which then undoes the balance of our being. Where on Narkariss, they have one frequency for communication. All communication runs through one frequency, and it is perfectly safe 10,000 trillion times to what is here on Earth. It would never harm a cellular cell within your being on Narkariss.
I see. Yeah, the electromagnetic frequencies in...
Yes. We got dozens on this planet, mate, and it's a real problem.
So what biological differences stand out compared to humans?
Biological, hell of a lot. If you look at a human, and say you see the bare facts of a human, and say you could see the emotions, the negative emotions or the positive emotions, and say you could see all the karma over the last 928,000 years in a human individual, you would run and dive into a massive ocean and stay there until you die, because it would shock you so much to see what that human has actually done in the thousands of lives it has existed within. You go to Narkariss and you do the same to a Narkaron, and you would just stand there smiling, putting your hands up to your lips and saying, wow, what a life. Oh my God, I wish I could have that life, that style. There is nothing but love, nothing but happiness, nothing but peace and balance and motivation, self-empowerment, understanding, respect for every single life form that exists on that planet. I wonder if there's anyone on this planet can actually tell me that humans have respect for the animals on this planet. I don't think so.
As a totality, maybe not.
But going beyond that, if you look at an Narkaron, say you look at 100, you got 100 lined up and you walk past women and men, say older children, girls and boys, and you look at them and you say, oh my God, they're all fit. Jesus, They're all solid. They've all got muscle structure. Women, they got defined muscles, but their body muscle structure is absolutely amazing. Their hair, look at their hair. Men have got long hair, and their hair is so shiny, so thick. The difference between that and a human is just incredible. Most of us have got thin hair, losing hair, trying to fight to find something that will help it to grow because we don't want to look bald because of our emotions, because of our stress, because of our depressions, and because of our lifestyle and what we eat and consume. Whereas on Narkariss, they're all vegans. They always have been. And the interesting point is that their diets are just incredible. And they don't eat major meals throughout the day. They may eat 8 separate meals, and all the meals are small. And they don't need. One might just have one piece of massive fruit. And that's it, because it fills you. And all the protein and nutrients within that, the iron, everything, the potassium, magnesium is just incredible. Their body structure, 7 foot to 7'4" tall. Every single Narkaron. Now, people out there will say when they listen to this and say, oh my God, he's making them out to be so perfect. Well, no, I'm not. They are just a very balanced species, and they always have been because they chose their path in existence because of the way they thought and thinked. That's the difference. We're emotional, and that's the way we've been because of the amount of karma that we each have created over all those years. That's our problem. Nothing's resolved. That's why we have so many issues today. That's why we have the elite criminals doing what they're doing to us. It's like karma in a very big way, but negative at the same time. Where with the Narkarons, they don't have hospitals. They have slight medical centres. If somebody, say, cuts their leg or their arm or their back or their stomach, or they have a big fall or something like that, which is so rare. Because the Narkarons, in their balance, if they were going to fall, they know how to fall because of their muscle structure, because of their thoughts. We lose balance and we fall like a bag of potatoes. Now, I know it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but if you look around, you'll see. It's amazing how we've become apathetic in the way we move our body, in the way we sit all the time. People sit in a chair 8 hours a day on a computer or on a machine sewing or creating something like putting a doll together. They're sitting all the time. And that creates back problems, leg problems, neck problems, everything. When the Narkarons don't do that. They get up. After an hour or two, they go and do a little workout. They have places where they work to actually exercise because they know by doing that, their bodies will feel perfect. And that's the beauty.
I see. Brilliant. And how are children educated on Narkariss?
Well, example first is Earth. We have schools. Let's use Australia as an example. We have prep. We have state school until year 6. Then we have high school, which goes up to, I think, either 12, I think it is, or something like that.
12, yeah.
Yeah, 12. And then we have universities. And we have people teaching. Unfortunately, if you're really truthful to yourself and you walk around the schools and be invisible and just watch the way teachers teach, you can understand why they become annoyed, angry, sometimes very forward with certain children because of the way children act. That's just a part of the life on planet Earth. If you go to Narkariss, There's no schools, whether it's prep, state, high, university. They do have places of technology where you can go and learn. You can also learn from home through massive screens as if it's real. The beauty about school is most of the time, school is taught by the parents or by the grandparents. That's the way it is. And that's the way it's been for as long as I can remember. There are no schools like there are on earth, but the education is incredible because of the mind structure when the child is literally born, because of the genetic transfer of 100% positive energy flow, especially the characteristics, especially the mother's blood and the father's sperm. There's nothing like it is here on earth because of our emotions. And that is the one reason why I talk about emotions so much. It is something we all need to understand, that we are emotional beings, mostly negative because of our conditioning and also the genetic transfer. It literally formulates and creates our future life in every lifetime. And that's why we are the way we are. And that's what we have to change. Where the Narkarons, they don't have that because they've been around for 27 million years. And the beauty is they love learning and they love teaching knowledge by passing it on. That's what they do. And they're not paid for anything. Everyone on Narkariss works for each other. And it makes everything purely 100% balanced.
And they have technology to find that balance if there is any emotion for some reason.
Absolutely. If you go in, there's rooms in every let's say state, in every state, and there's probably about 50,000, up to 50,000 states on that one planet, because that planet is about double the size of Earth. And there are many, many different states. We'll just call them states. I think the Narkarons call them bases, which is Nyayij. It's bases. And I think you'll find in those places, everything has balance. And if you go into a certain room where those facilities are, and you're feeling unusual, you're feeling a lack of energy, a little bit apathetic, if you are, you go in there, you lay down, the lid comes over you, gives you perfectly fresh air in that pure living energy. And it's formulated to bring a vibrational sound right throughout your brain, right down to your toes. And what it does, it realigns all your chakra centers. And I mean your chakra centers. We've got about 157 chakras in our entire body. Narkarons have got about 280 or just under. But it realigns every single chakra from your head to your shoulders, down to your fingertips, down to your torso, all the way down to your toes, and brings perfect balance. And that's really, really important. So it releases all the negativity that may be within you or that you've literally experienced. And when you leave there, you are in perfect harmony again. And that's the real beauty.
Wow, and that's similar to the one we've spoken about before, where if there are visitors that come in from another planet, their emotions are removed before they have a meeting on Narkariss.
Absolutely.
Just to keep 100%. The balance and to keep it clean on that planet.
Yeah. The only difference being, Michael, is that when they walk through, that energy is living consciousness, and it's very highly, how would you say, in its own technology. And what it does, it removes the energy vibration of your negativity, and it's stored within a vessel. And you're marked automatically in who you are And when you leave, that vessel is automatically placed back in the cylinder, releasing it and going directly through this energy into your being, into your body. And all the negativity or all the experiences are placed back within your cellular structure. That's how they do it.
Must be the way that it works.
Yeah.
It's not. I'd rather go there and get it removed and then leave it removed. But anyway,
I agree with that one. Yes. I put my son there, mate, 100%. And myself, by the way, too.
So what challenges or conflicts has this world faced?
You're talking about Narkariss?
Yeah.
Well, the biggest challenge that they've ever had for the first 13 million years, the 1 million years, I should say first, was a challenge. But they overcame that. But up to the 13 million years on Planet Narkariss 1, the biggest challenge was that one aggressive alien race that was massive in size. And what it did, it tried to take over that planet. And it failed. But it caused mass confusion and it caused mass pain in losing those 300 volunteers. Because of their unconditional love for each other, if one Narkaron dies, it affects the entire planet to lose that being. But they also know that all they're losing is the physical self. And the spirit is within their vibration, and they can communicate with it very easily by going into a certain room that they have specially set up. The spirit appears, they bring it forward. They can even place that spirit into a physical body. They can create a body and put the spirit within it. Their technology is so advanced. It's quite incredible. That's an area where I haven't really gone into because that would really confuse people. But what we have to understand is that the substance called pure living energy is the essence of all life. When we learn to understand that, the format is spirit energy as well as physical energy. And it can be duplicated. I think I said that right. It can be that duplicated and you can be alive in a physical body. So it's quite amazing, really.
Wow.
But they faced that really badly because they had to leave the planet. But they also wiped out the entire negative, aggressive alien race. And the 300 volunteers, unfortunately, passed away. But when they moved to their second planet, the first couple of hundred years, or over a couple of hundred years, they lost quite a few Narkarons, several hundred, I believe. And it was to creatures that they didn't realize existed on that planet. One day, someone found a big grass patch and they pulled it away for some reason and they found a massive hole. And within that hole, there were creatures that were much larger than the Narkarons. And they were literally catching Narkarons, ripping them up, into taking them into that hole, their cavern, their caves, and eating them. But they eventually destroyed all of them. And no carnivore animal exists on that planet today. And they sealed up every single one of those caves with living energy. And it became solid, that nothing could exist within it. And if there was something in there, like one of those creatures, they would be, what's that word where they turn to, like, calcified in a way. They turn to stone or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So, yes. So that was their second, how would you say, circumstances they had to face. And after that, it wasn't an issue. But recently, my father, Yarkis Kardis, secretly recreated Narkariss 1 as it was, but more futuristic, and did everything up. And he put a large, what's the word for to honor the
Monument.
past? Sorry?
Monument.
Monuments for all those 300. He had statues and everything, and he put it on both planets. Originally on the planet 1, once they came to visit and Narkarons came to live there, he then asked the council if he could present something at that major center. And they had a big area specially created, and he put the 300 statues also there. So Narkarons and even their children could come along and realize that was their great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really beautiful, mate.
Yeah, fantastic. And my last question, why is understanding Narkariss useful for people on Earth?
Okay, that's a really, really, really lovely question, because most people will not know this, even if I've said it many times. If we go back 928,000 years ago, what you'll find is 87,000 Narkarons were placed upon this planet, a little bit over 87,000, but let's just say 87,000. And they were Narkarons, but they caused a lot of problems. And they didn't want to be any part of Narkaron civilization that worked for each other. They created their own city. They put their own walls around it. And the Narkarons, the real Narkarons, left them alone, but they ended up creating too many problems. So they made a choice, and they moved them and found planet Earth, not knowing at that time that Yarkus Cartus created it 4.71 billion years ago. So they put him here, and they mixed. So in reality, pretty well every human on this planet, to some degree, because of the intermingling with genetics over a long period of time, have a percentage of Narkaron DNA within their being. It can be 0.5%. It can be 1%, 5%, 10%, not much more, but probably between 8 and 10% and below. So every human, in reality, is part Narkaron to a degree. And they have the ability as humans to progress their consciousness to higher levels of understanding. But when we have these ones called the elite criminals who are poisoning our water with fluoride, poisoning our foods with fluoride, poisoning the air with all these different toxic chemicals, and also with COVID-19, with what was in it, it literally has caused our bodies to defunction, create diseases. People today are still dying, so many, every single day, from the COVID injections, especially the elderly. The thing is, if we begin to tap into our own inner consciousness, we could start to break down the pineal gland encasement through our own thought consciousness, energy, which is living energy. And by doing that, we can then open up ourselves, and we could learn to accept alien races. And if we did that, the Narkarons would know it, and they would make contact again, like they did all those years ago for such a long period of time. And we would have a better race called human. We would have help, more help. But we have to grow consciously in our own self-awareness and stop all the wars, stop all the violence, stop eating and slaughtering billions of animals every year. Stop the cannibalism that's taking hold on humanity in such a big way. The eating of children, the eating of the dead who are full of diseases. And that's a big problem because it's going to cause mass diseases in the future to come with the species called human. An example, we bring, what do they call those people that we bring into the country to live here?
Immigrants.
Immigrants,
Foreigners.
thank you. We bring immigrants into this country, and there's about 2 million over the last so many years that has been brought in. And that's far too much for a start. Never used to do that. But there's a reason behind it. A lot of people know the reason, but let's not talk about that. It's a negative, by the way, big negative. In those people that come here, they're not tested for viruses, for diseases or bacteria. Apparently, talking to some doctors, they're saying a lot of children are getting all these new diseases that has never been here. Like a mouth disease with all these sores around the mouth. And apparently it's very big in Africa. There's a lot of diseases in Africa today that are causing massive issues with Africans' hips, back, the way they walk. It's very noticeable. And if, say, a black man marries a white woman, which is Australian, their children have had that passed on to them, and they will then have the issues. No different to what, say, to Australian people. If there's issues in the family, one side or the other or both, those children also will carry on those diseases. But nowhere near as bad as what diseases are coming into this country, which will cause massive issues all over the world. We have to realize that we need to grow consciously for the Narkarons to be connected to us, to actually help us. If we don't want to grow and we don't want to accept aliens, then they're never going to come here. But they will come here in 140 to 190 years for a big purpose, and that's to remove over 3.317, I think it is, evil criminals off this planet, which I've said before, naturally, narcissists, psychopaths, serial murderers, serial killers, all the rapists, serial rapists, all the pedophiles, all the terrorists.
So
because we have so
billion.
much. Sorry, mate?
3.3 billion, you're saying?
Yeah, say 3.3 billion of humanity is involved in such evil works all around the world. And there's one big issue, and the biggest issue is the elite criminals. And the elite criminals, what they're doing today around the world is just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So yeah, that's that.
That's that. Thanks so much for answering those questions, Kintakis.
That's okay. Anytime, my friend.
This concludes another episode of Kintakis. If you'd like to find out more about Kintakis, find his website, which is etcconsciousness.com. He has articles there, he has his books listed there, and also if you have any reason to contact us in general for any reason, just email kintakis@gmail.com. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.